to my brain break. So this is just a energy break that you can either do live with me now or hit save and do later when you feel like you really just need 10 minutes out of whatever it was you were doing to reset, recharge and give yourself a boost for the day. Today we're going to look at an all over body workout called all over body exercise called swimming. We're also going to add in some stretches and little extras as well as we go. So let's get going. So we're coming into our 4-point kneeling position. Now, if you find this is uncomfortable on your wrist, what I want you to think about doing is either creating a fist or finding something like a rolled up towel or a cushion that you can put under your wrist so that your wrist is a bit more comfortable. Your wrist should stay under your shoulder and your knee is under your hip, and then you're tilting your pelvis so your tailbone is pointing off towards whatever is behind you. Core engaged, so pulling your belly button towards your spine, bringing your ribs down towards your hips, keeping that core engagement. Eye line stays down between your hands, so make sure you're not bringing your head up. Think about having a nice long neck for me. We're going to take an inhale. Then we're going to exhale. We're going to pick up and just stretch one arm forward. Think about the length that you can create through that arm, and then on your inhale you're just going to bring it back to the floor. Exhale, going to take the other arm forward, really stretching out through your fingertips, and then bringing that arm back down. Make sure you're putting your wrists back underneath your shoulders. So really important that we keep that good box shape. Keep thinking belly button to spine, core engaged, pelvic floor on and strong. And we're going to do 2 more on each arm, really stretching out through those fingers and then bringing that hand back to the floor, stretching out and back to the floor. One more time on each side, really stretch out through that hand and back to the floor, and the other side, stretching out, think belly button to spine and bringing that hand back to the floor. Okay, now we're going to move on to our legs. So same thing, core engaged. You're going to just slide your foot out along the floor, and then when you get to an extended leg, you're just going to lift that leg up, stretch out, see if you can make that leg longer. Careful with your hips, so make sure you haven't turned your hip to the side or hip hitched. We're stretching out through that leg, holding it here, and then slowly lower your foot to the floor and bring that leg back in. Core engaged, holding in the middle, think belly button to spine. Other leg, slide out along the floor, stretching it up, try and make that leg longer. Careful you haven't rocked back on your hip, so keep your hip over your knee, and then slowly lowering your foot to the floor and bringing that knee back in. Core engaged, holding in the middle, stretching out, lifting up. Keep your eye line down between your hands. For now, I just want you to think about making sure you're exhaling and inhaling, using that rib cage to expand each breath, keeping hold of that core connection, so wide thoracic breathing. Think about inhaling as you go out, exhaling, lift that leg. Inhale, hold, exhale, bring it back in. Inhale, take that leg out, exhale, lift, inhale, hold, exhale, back to the center. Just check where you're placing your knees, so make sure your knees are coming back underneath your hips and you're not bringing those knees in closer to your chest. Stay in your nice box shape, core engaged, think belly button to spine, eye line stays down in front of you. One more time on each side, stretch out through that leg, lift, try and make it longer. So think about the length that you can create. Don't worry about the height. Then slowly lowering down, and the other side. Out and stretch. Bring it back to the floor and slowly back in. Well done. Just have a little break for me. Work those wrists just so that they're ready for our next set. You can push that wrist backwards, down and down. Little drink. Very important to stay hydrated. And we're going on to an opposite arm and leg. Now, if this isn't quite right for you yet and you found that your balance was a bit off with what we just did, then stick with what we just did instead of moving up to opposite arm and leg. So here we go. Core engaged. We're back into our good box. So wrist under your shoulder, knee under your hip, tilting that pelvis so your tailbone is pointing towards the back wall. Core engaged, holding it in the middle for an inhale. Think wide thoracic breathing. Then exhale, slide that arm and leg out. Then you're going to slowly lift. Think about stretching through that arm and leg. Don't worry about the height, think about the length you can create. Make sure you're not leaning your body backwards. Back to the floor, and then bringing them back in like they've never been gone. So there shouldn't be a big rock to the side. You should bring that arm and leg back down and nothing else should move. So your trunk is being stabilized by those core muscles. Holding in the middle for an inhale. Then exhale. Taking that opposite arm and leg out, stretching them up. Reaching through your fingertips, through your toes. Holding it there. Slowly back to the floor and bringing them back in. Core engaged, hold in the middle, other side, stretching out, reaching forward, holding it here. And then slowly, with control, back to the floor and bring that arm and leg in. Core engaged in the middle, slowly sliding through the other side, reaching up, stretching through that arm and leg. Make yourself longer, keep your eye line down between your hands. Going to do 2 more on each side like this. So core engaged, stretching out, taking my pillow with me. Then reaching up, holding it there, really stretch out through your arm and leg. Back to the floor and slowly back in. Core engaged, stretching out the other side. So take them along the floor and then just lift as far as you can without that hip hitching. Remember, belly button to spine, stretching through that arm and leg back to the floor and then back to the middle. Core engaged, slowly taking the other pair, stretching them up, holding it here. Then slowly lower to the floor and bring them back in. Core engaged, other side, stretch and lift, hold it. And then slowly lower and bring them back to the center. Again, just having a little wrist break. Give those wrists a little wiggle for me. Okay, so we're going to up this slightly now and we're going to challenge our balance a little bit more by taking our arm and leg out to the side. Again, if this isn't quite right for you yet, then just stick with what we've been doing or just reduce the amount of movement that you use. So we're coming back into that good box shape, core engaged, think belly button to spine, holding it here. Then you're going to slowly take that opposite arm and leg out, hold it here, make sure you're not hip hitching, and then you're going to take that opposite arm and leg out to the side, hold, come back to the middle, back to the floor, and then slowly bring them back in, other side. So stretching out to the side, to the middle, to the floor, and down. Core engaged. We're going to do 3 more on each side. Remember, if you need to, just reduce the range of movement or just stick with your opposite arm and leg until you feel a bit stronger and you've got real control of those core muscles and your trunk is staying nice and still. Final 2 to each side. Stretching out first, check in with those hips, make sure you're not hip hitching. Belly button to spine, to the middle and slowly in. Core engaged, stretching out to the side, to the middle, to the floor and in. Final 1. So we're stretching out, taking it to the side, holding it this time. Take it back to the middle, to the floor and back in. Core engaged. Final 1. Stretching out, hold it, take it to the side, hold it. Come back to the middle, to the floor and back in.